The hospital ship Mercy's Hand moved through the darkness of space like a bright star. Its white hull was clean and beautiful. Blue crosses were painted on every side so that anyone who saw it would know what it was. This was not a warship. This was a ship of healing. Captain Una Park stood on the bridge and watched the stars pass by. She was 53 years old. Her black hair had some gray in it now, and her face showed the lines of many hard years, but her eyes were still sharp and kind. In her 30 years of service, she had saved thousands of lives, human lives, alien lives. It did not matter to her. Pain was pain, suffering was suffering, and she had sworn an oath to fight against both. "Captain, we are receiving the distress signal more clearly now," said the communications officer. Una nodded. "Show me." The main screen lit up with a message. It was from a small planet near the border of Kravik space. The Veloxy people lived there. They were a peaceful species, small and thin with large eyes. They had no army, no weapons, and right now they were dying. "The Kravik bombed their cities," the officer said quietly. "They say thousands are wounded. They have no doctors, no medicine. They are begging anyone to help them." Lieutenant Minyu Kang stepped forward. He was young, only 28, with a gentle face and soft eyes. He was the best trauma surgeon on the ship. Many said he had magic hands that could fix any wound, but more than his skill, it was his heart that made him special. He truly believed that medicine was sacred, that healing was the highest purpose a person could have. "We have to help them," Minyu said. "We cannot let them die." Una looked at him and smiled sadly. She remembered when she had been like him, so full of hope, so certain that doing good was always simple. "The Kravik have warned us to stay away," she said. "They say this is their territory now." "But we are medical ships," said Nurse Hana Cho. She was standing near the door, her arms crossed. Hana was tough. She had worked in the worst places in the galaxy. She had treated soldiers on battlefields, children in plague zones, and refugees on dying stations. Nothing scared her anymore. "The Galactic Accord says medical ships are neutral. They cannot attack us." Una was quiet for a moment. She knew the law. She also knew that laws only mattered to those who chose to follow them. The Kravik were not known for following rules. They were a reptilian species, tall and covered in hard scales. They believed that power was everything, that mercy was weakness, that the strong should take whatever they wanted. But 847 people served on her ship. Doctors, nurses, technicians, good people who had given their lives to helping others. Could she ask them to risk everything for strangers? She looked around the bridge. Every face was watching her, waiting. "Set course for the Veloxy planet," she said. "We heal. That is what we do." The ship turned and moved toward the border. Two small escort frigates flew beside it. They had light weapons, enough to scare away pirates, but nothing more. They were not meant for real battle. It took 6 hours to reach the planet. When they arrived, they saw the horror below. Cities were burning. Smoke rose into the sky. Ships floated in orbit, broken and dead. "Begin landing operations," Una ordered. "Send every shuttle, every doctor, save as many as we can." For 2 days, the crew of Mercy's Hand worked without sleep. They set up field hospitals on the ground. They operated on hundreds of wounded Veloxy. Minyu worked until his hands shook, saving one life after another. Hana carried children through rubble, her uniform covered in blood and dust. The Veloxy cried with gratitude. They had never seen humans before. They did not understand why strangers would come so far to help them. "Why?" asked an old Veloxy man as Hana bandaged his wounds. "Why do you help us? We have nothing to give you." Hana smiled at him. "We do not help because we expect payment. We help because it is right." On the morning of the 3rd day, the Kravik came. 10 warships dropped out of hyperspace. They were massive, covered in weapons, painted in dark red colors. They surrounded the white hospital ship like wolves around a lamb. "Human vessel," a harsh voice said over the radio. You were warned, this is Kravik territory, leave now or be destroyed. Yuna stood tall on her bridge. Her heart was beating fast, but her voice was calm. This is Captain Yuna Park of the United Earth Medical Corps. We are a neutral medical vessel operating under Galactic Accord law. We are treating wounded civilians. We will leave when our work is done. There was a long silence. Then the Kravik commander laughed. It was an ugly sound like rocks grinding together. You humans are so soft, he said. You think your laws protect you. You think your mercy makes you special. It makes you weak. And the weak do not deserve to live. Please, Yuna said, let us finish our work. These people are dying. Then let them die. The first shot hit the escort frigate on the left. It exploded instantly, killing everyone aboard. The second frigate tried to run but was cut apart by laser fire in seconds. Then the Kravik turned their weapons on Mercy's hand asterisk. The ship shook as explosions ripped through it. Alarms screamed, lights flickered, people fell to the ground. On the medical deck, Minyu was operating on a young Veloxy girl when the ceiling collapsed. He threw himself over her, protecting her with his body. The metal beam hit his back and broke his spine. He died instantly, but the girl lived. Hana was running through a corridor when a blast tore off her right arm. She fell to the floor, screaming as blood poured from the wound. But she did not die. She lay there in the darkness, listening to her friends die around her. The attack lasted only 4 minutes. When it was over, Mercy's hand was a burning wreck. Of the 847 people aboard, only 112 survived. Captain Yuna Park was still alive, but barely. She lay on the broken bridge, her body crushed under fallen metal. With her last strength, she reached for the emergency transmitter. "This is Captain Yuna Park," she whispered into the microphone. Her voice was broadcast across the galaxy to every ship, every station, every world. "The Kravik have attacked us. They killed my children, all of them. They were healers. They only wanted to help, they were." Her voice broke, tears ran down her face. "They were the best of us." The transmission ended. The galaxy heard it and did nothing. The Galactic Council called an emergency meeting. Alien ambassadors gave speeches about peace and understanding, but no one acted. The Kravik were too powerful, too dangerous. It was easier to let the humans cry alone. But on Earth, in a room deep beneath the mountains, Admiral Tiwu Shin watched the transmission. He was 60 years old, with a face like stone and eyes like ice. His daughter had been a nurse on Mercy's hand asterisk. She was dead now. He watched the video of the attack again and again. He saw the white ship burn. He heard Yuna's broken voice. Then he stood up and walked to the door. "Sir," asked his assistant, "what are your orders?" Tiwu did not look back. "Wake the angels," he said. And the fate of the galaxy changed forever. 3 days had passed since the attack. 3 days since the galaxy watched a hospital ship burn. 3 days since 847 healers died for the crime of showing mercy. On Earth, people wept in the streets. They held candles and photographs of the dead. They gathered in parks and squares, singing songs and praying for souls they had never met. The whole planet was wrapped in grief. But beneath the grief, something else was growing. Something dark and cold. Something that had slept inside humanity for a very long time. Admiral Tiwu Shin sat in his office and stared at the wall. On his desk was a photograph of his daughter, Jiyeon. She had been 26 years old. She had wanted to be a nurse since she was a little girl. She used to bandage her toys and pretend to heal them. Now she was dead, burned alive in the cold darkness of space because she tried to save strangers. His hands did not shake. His eyes did not water. He had cried once, alone in his room, on the night he learned the news. He would not cry again. Tears were for the living. His daughter needed something else now. She needed justice. The door opened and Director Salmon Lee walked in. She was the head of Earth Intelligence, a thin woman with sharp eyes and silver hair. She wore a simple gray suit and carried a tablet in her hands. Nothing about her seemed dangerous, but Tiwu knew better. Saman had ended wars with a single phone call. She had destroyed empires with information alone. She was the most dangerous person in the solar system, and she knew it. "The Galactic Council has made their decision," she said. Her voice was flat without emotion. "They will issue a statement condemning the attack. They will call for an investigation. They will do nothing." Tiwu nodded slowly. "I expected as much." "The Kravik ambassador gave an interview this morning," Saman continued. "He laughed. He said humans are too soft to fight. He said we will cry and complain and then forget. He said attacking our medics was like stepping on insects." Tiwu's jaw tightened. "Show me." Saman handed him the tablet. The Kravik ambassador appeared on screen. He was tall and covered in dark green scales. His yellow eyes were filled with contempt. "Humans are prey animals," the ambassador said. "They send their weakest members to the battlefield with bandages and medicine. What did they expect? We are predators. We take what we want, and no one will stop us. Certainly not the soft, crying humans." Tiwu turned off the tablet and set it down carefully. His face showed nothing. "Has Ambassador Beak been informed?" he asked. "He is at the council now," Saman replied. "He has asked to address the full assembly." "Good, tell him to deliver our message." Far away on the Galactic Council station, Ambassador G1 Beak waited for his turn to speak. He was a tall man with a calm face and gentle voice. For 20 years, he had represented Earth among the stars. He had made friends with alien species. He had built bridges of understanding. He truly believed, that words could solve any problem. But today, his faith had been broken. The council chamber was vast and round, with seats rising in circles like an ancient arena. Representatives from 47 species filled the room. Some had fur. Some had scales. Some had no bodies at all, just floating clouds of light. They all watched as the Kravik ambassador finished his speech. "The humans entered our territory without permission," the Kravik said. "They interfered with our military operations. We had every right to remove them. This matter is closed." Many in the room nodded. Others looked uncomfortable but said nothing. No one wanted to anger the Kravik. They had 300 warships. They had conquered 12 worlds. They were useful allies against other threats. The council president, a tall bird-like creature called a Talvari, turned to G1. "Ambassador Beak, you may respond." G1 stood. He looked around the chamber slowly, meeting the eyes of every representative. "I have served on this council for 20 years, he began. His voice was quiet but clear. "In that time I have learned many things about your species, your cultures, your fears, your hopes. I believed that we were building something good here, a community of worlds working together for peace." He paused. 3 days ago, the Kravik murdered 847 of my people. They were doctors, nurses, healers. They had no weapons. They had no fighters. They were saving the lives of wounded civilians as they have done on 100 worlds for 100 years. Many of you in this room have been treated by human medics. Some of your children are alive today because of them. Silence filled the chamber. Some representatives looked down at their hands. "We asked for justice," G1 continued. "We asked you, our friends and allies, to stand with us, to say that this was wrong, to punish those who committed this crime." He looked at the council president. "What was your answer?" The Talvari shifted uncomfortably. "We offered our sympathy. We called for an investigation." "You offered words," G1 said. "Words without action. Words without meaning. You told us that the Kravik are too important, too powerful, that we should accept our dead and move on." His voice hardened. "We refuse." The chamber stirred. Whispers spread through the crowd. "Humanity came to the stars with open hands," G1 said. "We offered friendship. We offered help. We built hospitals on your worlds. We cured your plagues. We healed your wounded. And when we asked for the same friendship in return, you gave us silence." He turned to face the Kravik ambassador directly. "You called us soft, you called us prey, you said no one would stop you." A small smile crossed his face. It was not a warm smile. "You were wrong." He looked back at the council. "We asked for justice. You offered silence. Very well, we will handle this ourselves. And when we are done, you will remember why humans walked alone in the dark for so long before we found the stars." Ambassador G1 turned and walked out of the chamber. The doors closed behind him with a soft sound that seemed very loud in the silence. Deep beneath the Himalayan mountains on Earth, Admiral Tiwu walked through corridors that few people knew existed. Director Salmon was beside him. Armed guards followed at a distance. The facility was called the Garden. It had been built 200 years ago, during the darkest time in human history. The gene wars had nearly destroyed Earth. Scientists had created super soldiers, humans modified to be faster, stronger, and smarter than any normal person. They had been weapons of terrible power. When the wars ended, the survivors had faced a choice. These soldiers were too dangerous to release into a peaceful society, but they were also heroes who had saved humanity from destruction. Killing them seemed wrong. So they had been put to sleep instead. 2,000 soldiers lay in cryogenic pods, waiting for a threat great enough to wake them. They had been called many things during the wars: demons, monsters, nightmares. But their official name was the Angels of Death. Tiwu stopped in front of the main control room. Inside, scientists and technicians monitored thousands of screens showing vital signs. "How long to wake them all?" he asked. 12 hours, said the head scientist. "But Admiral, are you certain? These soldiers were created for a different time, a different kind of war. The psychological evaluations from their era suggest extreme aggression, limited empathy, and complete loyalty to mission objectives. Once they wake up..." "Once they wake up," Tiwu interrupted, "they will do what they were made to do. They will remind the galaxy what happens when you hurt humanity's children." He turned to Salmon. "Begin the awakening process." Salmon nodded and gave the order. Throughout the garden, machines began to hum. Lights flickered. Cold steam poured from 2,000 pods as the ancient soldiers started to wake. In one pod, a woman's eyes opened. She was Commander Yunji Ryu, leader of the Angels. She had been 32 years old when she went asleep. Now, technically, she was 194, but her face was still young, still beautiful, still terrifying. She remembered the last thing she had been told before sleeping: "Rest now. We will wake you when humanity needs you again." A technician appeared at her pod and helped her sit up. Her muscles were stiff. Her mind was foggy, but her instincts were sharp as ever. "How long?" she asked. Her voice was rough from disuse. 167 years, Commander." She absorbed this information without visible reaction. 167 years. Everyone she had known was dead. The world had changed beyond recognition. "Why was I awakened?" she asked. The technician handed her a tablet showing the attack on Mercy's hand asterisk. Yunji watched the white ship burn. She listened to Captain Park's broken final message. She read the list of the dead. When she finished, she looked up. Her eyes were cold and empty, like a winter sky. "Who do we kill?" The technician swallowed nervously. "The Kravik Dominion. They attacked our medical corps." Yunji stood. Around her, other pods were opening. Other angels were waking. She could feel them, her brothers and sisters in death, rising from their long sleep. "Get me Admiral Shin," she said. "I want to know everything about these Kravik." She smiled, and it was not a human smile. "I want to know how they scream." The garden was no longer silent. For 167 years, only the soft hum of machines had filled its halls. Now it was alive with voices, footsteps, and the sound of warriors preparing for war. Commander Yunji Ryu walked through the facility and watched her soldiers wake. 2,000 angels of death, the most deadly fighters humanity had ever created. Each one had been modified at the genetic level. Their bones were harder than steel. Their muscles could tear through metal. Their reflexes were faster than any machine. They could survive wounds that would kill normal humans 10 times over. But it was not their bodies that made them truly dangerous. It was their minds. The angels had been created to feel no fear, to feel no doubt, to feel only one thing when facing an enemy, absolute certainty that they would win. Normal soldiers hesitated. Normal soldiers made mistakes. The angels did not. Yunji stopped at a training room where a large man was lifting weights. The weights were marked as 2,000 kilograms. The man was lifting them with one arm. "Sergeant Dongho, I am," she said. "I was not sure you would survive the sleep." Dongho set down the weights and turned. He was 7 feet tall, with shoulders as wide as a door. His face was rough and scarred, but his eyes were gentle. This had always been strange about him. He was perhaps the most deadly soldier ever created, but he spoke like a poet and thought like a philosopher. "Commander," he said, bowing his head, "it is good to see you again." "I have read the reports on what happened," Yunji said. "What do you think?" Dongho was quiet for a moment. "I think the universe has not changed much since we went to sleep. There are still bullies who hurt the weak. There are still cowards who let them do it. And what should we do about it?" "What we have always done," Dongho said simply. "Teach them that there are consequences." Yunji nodded and continued walking. In another room, she found a small woman cleaning a knife. The woman was Corporal Naeun Kim. She was tiny, barely 5 feet tall, with a face like a child. But Yunji knew that Naeun had killed more enemies than any other angel. She specialized in infiltration. She could enter any building, bypass any security, and eliminate any target without being seen. "Corporal," Yunji said, "are you ready?" Naeun did not look up from her knife. "I was ready the moment I woke up." She held the blade up to the light. "These Kravik think they are predators. They have never met a real predator. They have never met me." In a computer room, Specialist Hyunwoo Cha was connecting himself to the ship's systems. Hyunwoo was unique among the angels. His modifications were not physical but mental. His brain could interface directly with computers and artificial intelligence. He could control entire ships with his thoughts. "The technology has improved since our time," he reported. His eyes were closed, but his fingers twitched as data flowed through his mind. "The ship they have given us is impressive. 5 kilometers long, enough weapons to destroy a planet. I can make it dance." "Good," Yunji said. "You will be our eyes and our hands." She gathered all 2,000 angels in the main hall. They stood in perfect lines, silent and still, waiting for her words. Looking at them, no one would guess that they had been asleep for over a century. They looked ready to fight. They looked hungry. "You all know why we were woken," Yunji began. Her voice was calm but carried to every corner of the room. "While we slept, humanity changed. They joined a community of alien species. They built hospitals and schools on distant worlds. They became healers and teachers. They put away their weapons and extended their hands in friendship." She paused. "Some might think they became weak, but I do not believe that. I believe they became what they always wanted to be: good, kind, helpful." Her voice hardened. "But there are those who see kindness and mistake it for weakness. 3 days ago, a species called the Kravik proved this. They attacked a hospital ship. They murdered 847 doctors and nurses. They killed people whose only crime was trying to save lives." A low sound went through the crowd. It was not quite a growl, but close. The angels were angry. "The galaxy watched and did nothing," Yunji continued. "They sent words of sympathy but no action. They were afraid to challenge the Kravik. They thought humans would cry and accept their loss." She smiled coldly. "They forgot about us." The angels laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. We were created to be monsters, Yunji said. They called us demons. They locked us away because peace had no place for us. But peace is over now. The Kravik have shown that some enemies cannot be reasoned with. Some enemies can only be destroyed. She looked across the room. But we will not become what they expect. We will not slaughter civilians. We will not burn cities. We will not become the monsters they fear. We will be something worse. We will be justice. Justice, the angels repeated. The word echoed like thunder. We will hunt the leaders who ordered this attack. We will find the officers who gave the commands. We will kill every single person responsible for the deaths of our healers. And when we are done, we will leave their civilians unharmed. Because we are not like them. We know the difference between soldiers and innocents. Dongho stepped forward. Commander, what about the Kravik fleet? They have 300 warships. Even for us, that is a large number. We will not fight their fleet, Yunji said. We will ignore it. We will go straight to their homeworld and cut off the head of the snake. By the time their ships can react, their leaders will already be dead. The door opened and a woman walked in. She was not an angel. She was smaller, thinner, and she had only one arm. The other had been replaced with a metal prosthetic. Her name was Hana Cho, and she was one of the survivors of Mercy's hand. The angels watched her approach with curiosity. This was not a soldier. This was a nurse. What was she doing here? Hana walked up to Commander Yunji and stopped. Her face was pale. There were dark circles under her eyes, but her voice was steady when she spoke. I want to come with you. Yunji studied her. You are a healer, not a fighter. This mission will be dangerous. Why do you want to join us? Hana's jaw tightened. Because I was there. I watched my friends die. I held them as they bled. I heard them scream. She held up her prosthetic arm. The Kravik took this from me, but worse than that, they took the people I loved. Minyu was going to ask me to marry him. He had a ring in his pocket when he died. I found it in the wreckage. Tears appeared in her eyes, but she did not let them fall. I do not want to fight. I do not want to kill, but I need to see this. I need to know that their deaths meant something. I need to see justice done. Yunji was silent for a long moment. Then she nodded. You may come. You will not fight. You will only watch. And when it is over, you will tell the others what you saw, so that no one forgets what happens when you hurt humanity's healers. Hana bowed her head. Thank you. Hours later, the angels boarded their ship. It was called the Retribution and it had been hidden inside an asteroid for over a century. The ship was enormous, 5 kilometers of black metal and weapons. It did not look like a human ship. It looked like something from a nightmare. Yunji stood on the bridge as the ship powered up. Hyunwoo was connected to the main computer, his eyes glowing faintly as he merged his mind with the vessel. The other angels were at their stations, checking weapons, running simulations, preparing for battle. All systems ready, Commander, Hyunwoo reported. The ship responds beautifully. It wants to fight. Then let us not keep it waiting, Yunji said. Set course for the Kravik homeworld, maximum speed. The Retribution emerged from its asteroid shell like a monster rising from the deep. Its black hull absorbed the light of distant stars. Its weapons hummed with terrible energy. It was the largest warship ever built by human hands, and it had been waiting for this moment for 167 years. As the ship jumped into hyperspace, Yunji addressed her soldiers one final time. They called us monsters, she said. They locked us away because peace had no place for us. They thought they would never need us again. She looked out at the swirling colors of hyperspace. But peace is over now. Tonight, we remind the galaxy why they feared the dark. Tonight, we show them what humanity becomes when mercy fails. Dongho spoke from his station. The medics were the best of us. They chose to save instead of destroy. They represented everything humanity wanted to be. Yes, Yunji agreed. And these lizards burned them. Now they will learn that humanity has 2 faces, One heals, one destroys. They should have prayed to only meet the first. Nayan smiled and checked her weapons. How long until we arrive? 8 hours, Hyunwoo replied. Good, Yoonji said. That gives us time to plan. Every leader, every officer, everyone who touched this attack dies tonight. But not their children, not their families, not their civilians. We are the angels of death, but even angels have rules. Hana watched from a corner of the bridge. She did not understand these soldiers. They were so calm, so cold, talking about killing like others talked about the weather. But somehow she felt safe with them. They were monsters, yes, but they were humanity's monsters. And tonight they would deliver justice for Minyu, for Captain Park, for all 847 souls who died on Mercy's hand asterisk. She closed her eyes and pictured Minyu's face. I will watch for you, she whispered. I will see it end. The Retribution flew through hyperspace, carrying 2,000 angels toward their prey. The Kravik did not know they were coming. The Kravik were celebrating their victory, laughing at the soft humans who could only cry and complain. They would not be laughing for much longer. The Kravik homeworld of Vorthak was beautiful in a harsh way. Red mountains rose from gray plains. 2 suns burned in a purple sky. Cities of black stone spread across the surface, filled with millions of Kravik going about their daily lives. In orbit, 200 warships floated like sleeping giants. Defense platforms covered every approach. Sensor arrays watched for any threat. The Kravik believed their homeworld was untouchable. They had never been invaded. They had never been defeated. They had never met the angels. The Retribution dropped out of hyperspace without warning. One moment the space around Vorthak was empty. The next moment, a massive black ship hung in the void like a piece of broken night. Every sensor in the system screamed. Every alarm wailed. Kravik commanders rushed to their stations, trying to understand what they were seeing. High Commander Vortak, leader of the Kravik military, stood on the bridge of his flagship and stared at the strange vessel. He was old and scarred, a veteran of 50 battles. He had crushed rebellions and conquered worlds. Nothing had ever frightened him. But something about this ship made his scales itch. What is it? He demanded. Unknown, High Commander, said his sensor officer. It does not match any design in our database. It appears to be human, but... But what? But it is too big, too powerful. Our scans show weapon systems we have never seen before, energy readings that should not be possible. Vortak straightened his spine. It is one ship, we have 200. Order the fleet to surround it. Prepare to fire on my command. The Kravik warships moved into position, 200 vessels against 1. The math was simple. The humans were outnumbered and outgunned. This would be easy. Then the black ship began to broadcast. Commander Yoonji Ryu's voice filled every channel, every speaker, every screen on the planet. It was calm and cold, like the voice of a judge reading a sentence. 3 days ago you killed 847 of our healers. They had taken oaths to save lives, even yours. They were treating wounded civilians when your ships arrived. They begged you to let them finish their work. They offered no resistance. They had no weapons. She paused. You burned them anyway. Vortex snarled. Human, you have made a fatal mistake coming here. You are surrounded. Surrender now and I may let some of your crew live. Yoonji's voice continued as if he had not spoken. This is not war. This is judgment. We are not here to fight your fleet. We are not here to invade your world. We are here for one purpose only, to execute every person responsible for the attack on our medical ship. Vortak laughed. You think you can threaten us? We are the Kravik, we are predators, you are prey. You call us prey because we chose to heal instead of kill, Yoonji replied. You thought our mercy was weakness. You were wrong. We are not the healers. We are the ones they locked away because we were too dangerous for peace. Her voice grew colder. We are the angels of death, and tonight We are going to show you what humanity can become when you take away our mercy. The Retribution did not fire its weapons. Instead, 2,000 drop pods launched from its hull. They streaked toward the planet like burning stars, too fast for the defense platforms to track, too small for the warships to hit. "What are they doing?" Vortek demanded. "Shoot them down." But it was too late. The drop pods screamed through the atmosphere and slammed into the ground all across the planet. Each pod opened and an angel emerged. Naeun Kim landed in the capital city near the government building. She was small and silent, moving through shadows like smoke. Guards stood at every entrance, armed with powerful weapons. They never saw her coming. She killed the first guard with a knife across his throat. The second she strangled with her bare hands. The third she shot with his own weapon. In 30 seconds, the entrance was clear. She moved through the building like a ghost. She had memorized the floor plans. She knew exactly where the leaders were hiding. She knew their faces, their names, their crimes. The Kravik Senate was in session when she entered. 50 politicians sat in a grand chamber, arguing about trade agreements and tax policies. They did not know that death had just walked through their door. Naeun did not waste time with speeches. She began killing, fast, clean, efficient. The senators tried to run, but there was nowhere to go. They tried to fight, but they were politicians, not soldiers. One by one, they fell. When she was finished, she contacted Yoonji. Senate eliminated, moving to secondary targets. Across the planet, similar scenes were unfolding. Sergeant Dongho I am tore through a military bunker where fleet commanders were hiding. He was 7 feet tall and nearly unstoppable. Walls crumbled when he hit them. Doors flew off their hinges. Soldiers fired at him with heavy weapons, but the shots barely slowed him down. He found the commanders in a reinforced room, trying to send orders to the orbital fleet. He did not give them time to finish. "You ordered the attack," he said. His voice was sad, almost gentle. "You gave the command to kill healers, children of mercy, and you laughed about it." The commander tried to speak, but Dongho was already moving. The fight lasted only seconds. When it was over, Dongho stood among the bodies and felt nothing. He had stopped feeling things like remorse long ago, but he felt satisfaction. These men had killed innocents. Now they had paid the price. In orbit, High Commander Vortak was screaming orders. "Shoot that ship, destroy it, do something." The Kravik fleet opened fire with everything they had. Lasers, missiles, plasma cannons. The space around the asterisk Retribution became a storm of destruction. But the ship's shields held. The technology was from the Gene Wars, a century more advanced than anything the Kravik had. Their weapons were like raindrops against a mountain. On the bridge of asterisk Retribution, Hyunwoo Cha smiled. His mind was connected to every system on the ship. He could feel the enemy weapons hitting the shields like mosquitoes hitting glass. "Their fleet is irrelevant," he reported. "We can ignore them indefinitely." Yoonji nodded. "Good, continue the ground operation." One by one, the angels checked in. The Minister of War was dead. The Admiral of the Northern Fleet was dead. The general who had signed the attack order was dead. Every military officer who had played a role in the massacre was being hunted down and eliminated. The Kravik ground forces tried to stop them. Tanks rolled through the streets. Aircraft filled the sky. Soldiers in power armor formed defensive lines. It did not matter. The angels had been designed to fight against impossible odds. They had been created in a time when humanity faced extinction. A few thousand Kravik soldiers were nothing to them. Dongho punched through a tank's armor with his bare fist. Naeun disappeared into the shadows and emerged behind enemy lines. Other angels worked together in perfect coordination, cutting through the Kravik forces like a knife through paper. But through it all, they followed their rules. They killed only military targets. When they passed civilian buildings, they left them untouched. When frightened Kravik civilians ran across their path, The angels let them go. A Kravik child stumbled into the middle of a firefight. She was small, barely hatched, her scales still soft and green. She froze in terror, caught between the angels and a group of Kravik soldiers. Dong-ho stepped in front of her. A missile meant for him passed close enough to scorch his armor. He did not flinch. "Go home, little one," he said gently. "This is not your war." The child ran. The soldiers who had been using her as a shield were not so lucky. High Commander Vortak was in his private quarters when Yoonji found him. He had left his flagship and fled to his mansion on the surface, thinking he would be safe. He was wrong. Yoonji walked through the mansion's grand halls alone. She did not need backup. She was the commander of the angels for a reason. She found Vortak in his bedroom, holding a weapon with shaking hands. He was old, she realized. Old and afraid. For the first time in his long life, he was facing something he could not defeat. "You ordered the attack," Yoonji said. "It was not a question." "They were in our territory," Vortak hissed. "They had no right to be there. They were saving lives. They were interfering." Yoonji stepped closer. Vortak fired his weapon. The shot hit her chest and she did not even slow down. Her body had been designed to absorb damage that would kill normal humans instantly. She took the weapon from his hands and crushed it. "I want you to watch something," she said. She pulled out a tablet and showed him the footage. The Mercy's hand asterisk burning, the medics dying, Captain Park's final message, the faces of 847 people who would never go home. "Look at them," Yoonji commanded. "These are the people you killed, doctors, nurses, healers. They spent their lives helping others. They would have helped you if you asked. And you burned them." Vortak's yellow eyes flickered. They were weak. The weak do not deserve to survive. "Is that what you believe?" Yoonji asked quietly. "Then let me show you something else." She showed him the footage from the ground operation. His commanders dying, his senators dying, his generals dying, his fleet helpless in orbit, unable to stop a single ship. "Your entire military leadership is dead or dying," she said. 2,000 soldiers did this in less than 4 hours, and we have not touched your civilians. Not one, because we are not like you. She leaned close. "Do you understand now? Mercy is not weakness. We chose mercy because we are strong enough to afford it. We chose healing because we had already learned how to destroy. You thought our kindness meant we had forgotten how to fight." She grabbed him by the throat. "We never forgot." Vortak tried to speak but could not. Yoonji held him up like he weighed nothing. "You will be the last," she said. "After you die, we will leave. Your civilians will live. Your children will grow up, but they will remember this night forever. They will tell stories about what happened when you attacked humanity's healers, and maybe, just maybe, they will learn something you never did." She looked into his eyes. "That mercy is a gift, not a weakness." Then she killed him. Hanacho stood on a hill overlooking the capital city. The fighting was over. The angels were returning to their drop pods. The Kravik military was broken. She had watched everything. She had seen the angels hunt and kill. She had seen them show mercy to civilians. She had seen justice delivered, cold and precise. She did not feel happy. She did not feel satisfied, but she felt something close to peace. Minyu was still dead. Captain Park was still injured. 847 people were still gone forever. But their deaths had meant something. The galaxy would remember this night, and no one would ever attack human medics again. She looked up at the purple sky, where the retribution hung like a dark moon. "It is done, Minyu," she whispered. "It is finally done." On the ship, Yoonji gave her final order. "Broadcast to the planet and all remaining ships." Her voice filled the Kravik system one last time. "Your military leadership is gone. Your weapons are ash, but your civilians are unharmed. Your children still live, because unlike you, we know the difference between soldiers and innocents." She paused. Remember this night. Remember what happened when you attacked our healers, and pray you never see us again." The Retribution turned and jumped into hyperspace. It left behind a shattered military, a terrified population, and a lesson the galaxy would never forget. Humanity had two faces, one healed, one destroyed. And now everyone knew what happened when you forced them to show the second one. 6 months had passed since the night the angels descended on Vorthak. 6 months since the Kravik learned what humanity could become when pushed too far. In that time, everything had changed. The Kravik Dominion had collapsed. With their military leadership dead and their fleet demoralized, old enemies had risen against them. Rebellions broke out on conquered worlds. Former allies turned away. The mighty empire that had terrified the galaxy was now torn apart by civil war. But the rest of the galaxy was not watching the Kravik. They were watching humanity. In bars and homes across 1,000 worlds, species who had once dismissed humans as soft and harmless now spoke of them in hushed voices. They told stories about the black ship that had appeared from nowhere, about the soldiers who had torn through an entire military in a single night, about the perfect precision of the attack and the strange mercy shown to civilians. "They are not what we thought," said an old Talvari merchant to his grandson. "They smile and offer medicine, but beneath the smile is something else, something ancient and terrible." On the Galactic Council station, the representatives gathered once again. The chamber was full, every seat taken, but the mood was different now. Before, they had dismissed humanity. Now they were afraid. Ambassador G1 Beak walked to the central podium. He looked the same as always, calm and dignified, but there was something new in his eyes, a confidence that had not been there before. "6 months ago," he began, "I stood in this chamber and told you that humanity would handle the Kravik ourselves. Many of you thought we were making empty threats. Many of you thought we would fail." He looked around the room. No one would meet his gaze. "We did not fail." The silence was complete. Even the air seemed to hold its breath. "The Kravik attacked a ship carrying 847 of our healers," G1 continued. "They murdered doctors and nurses who had sworn oaths to save lives. And when we asked this council for justice, you gave us nothing." He paused. "We do not blame you. You were afraid. The Kravik were powerful and we seemed weak. You made a calculation based on what you knew, but you did not know everything about humanity. You knew that we build hospitals and schools. You knew that we send healers to war zones and disaster sites. You knew that we extend our hands in friendship wherever we go. And because you knew these things, you thought you understood us." His voice grew harder. "You were wrong. Humanity did not become healers because we were incapable of violence. We became healers because we had already learned, long ago, what violence costs. We had wars that killed billions. We created weapons that could destroy our own world. We built soldiers so dangerous that we had to lock them away for 100 years. We chose peace not because we were weak, but because we knew what happened when we were not peaceful. We chose mercy not because we had to, but because we could. And when the Kravik took away our mercy, we showed them what remained." The Talvari Council president spoke up. His voice was thin with age but steady with authority. "What do you want, Ambassador? You have had your revenge. The Kravik are destroyed. What more is there?" G1 shook his head. "We do not want revenge. We never wanted revenge. We wanted justice. There is a difference." He pulled out a document. "This is a proposal for a new law. We call it the Terra Accords. It is simple. Any species that attacks medical personnel of any other species will face collective military response from all council members." Murmurs spread through the chamber. "You mean we would have to fight?" asked a representative from a small, peaceful species. "I mean we would all stand together," G1 replied. "No more silence. No more empty words. If someone attacks healers, they face all of us, not just the species that was harmed." And if a species refuses to join this agreement, asked another representative. G1 smiled slightly. Then they are welcome to handle their problems alone, as we did. Perhaps they will find it as educational as we did. No one argued. No one complained. The Terra Accords passed unanimously. On Earth, the celebrations were quiet. People did not cheer in the streets. They did not wave flags or sing songs of victory. They gathered in small groups and remembered the dead. In the main square of Seoul, a memorial had been built. 847 names were carved into white stone, surrounded by flowers that never seemed to fade. People came every day to lay more flowers, to say prayers, to cry. Captain Yuna Park came to the memorial in a wheelchair. Her injuries had been severe, but she had survived. The doctors said she might walk again someday. For now, she sat before the wall of names and read them one by one. Minyu Kang, her brilliant young surgeon with the gentle hands and the kind heart. Sun Mi Oh, the nurse who always sang to frighten patients. Jiwon Lee, the technician who could fix any machine with nothing but hope and wire. All of them gone, all of them murdered for the crime of showing kindness. Hana Cho found her there as the sun was setting. She was still wearing her prosthetic arm, but she had added something new to it. A small blue cross, the symbol of the medical corps. "Captain," she said softly, "it is time." Yuna nodded. Together, they made their way to the harbor where a new ship was waiting. It was beautiful, white hull gleaming in the sunset, blue crosses on every side, the newest and most advanced hospital ship ever built. It had been constructed in record time, using technology that had never been seen before. Its name was painted on the bow in large letters, UES Minyu Kang **. A crowd had gathered for the christening ceremony. Admiral Tiwoo Shin was there, standing straight despite his age. Director Salmon Lee was beside him, her silver hair shining in the fading light. Politicians and soldiers, doctors and nurses, all had come to see this moment. Yuna was helped onto the stage. She looked out at the crowd and felt tears in her eyes, but they were not tears of sadness, not entirely. 3 years ago, she began, I was the captain of a hospital ship called Mercy's Hand *. My crew and I traveled to a distant world to help strangers we had never met. We knew it was dangerous. We knew we might not come back, but we went anyway because that is what healers do. She paused. We were attacked. Most of my crew was killed. I spent months in a hospital bed, wondering if I would ever walk again, wondering if everything we had done was for nothing. Her voice strengthened. It was not for nothing. Because of what happened to us, the galaxy has changed. There are new laws now that protect medical workers everywhere. No one will ever look at a hospital ship the same way again. She gestured to the gleaming vessel behind her. This ship is named after Lieutenant Minyu Kang. He was 28 years old. He was going to be married. On the day we were attacked, he threw himself over a patient to protect her. He saved her life at the cost of his own. Tears ran down her face, but she did not wipe them away. That is who we are. That is what humanity is. We protect, we heal, we sacrifice. Not because we are weak, but because we are strong. Strong enough to choose kindness in a universe that often chooses cruelty. She turned to Hana. This ship will carry on our mission, and it will have a new captain. Hana's eyes widened. Captain Park, I cannot. You can, Yuna said firmly. You survived the attack. You witnessed the response. You understand better than anyone what we represent. The galaxy needs to see that we have not changed, that we are still healers first, that the angels are sleeping again and they can stay sleeping as long as no one makes us wake them. She took Hana's hand. Take the ship, honor the dead, save the living, that is all I ask. Hana was silent for a long moment, then she nodded. I will make you proud. Deep beneath the Himalayan mountains, the garden was quiet again. The angels had returned to their pods. Their work was done. The enemy was defeated. Peace had returned. Commander Yunji Ryu was the last to sleep. She stood beside her pod and looked at her soldiers, her brothers and sisters in death, now resting peacefully. "We did what we had to do," she said to the empty room. "We reminded them what we are. Now it is time to forget again." Admiral Tiwu came to see her off. He was the only one allowed in the garden besides the angels themselves. "Thank you," he said. His voice was rough with emotion. "For my daughter, for all of them." Yunji looked at him. "We do not need thanks, we need purpose. You gave us that." She stepped toward her pod, then paused. "Admiral, when I wake up next time, it will be because something terrible has happened. Something beyond normal war. I hope I never wake up again. I hope humanity never needs us again." "So do I," Tiwu replied. Yunji smiled. It was almost warm. "But if you do need us, we will be here, sleeping, waiting, ready to remind the universe what happens when they hurt humanity's children." She climbed into the pod. The door began to close. "Wake me when they forget," she said. Then the cold took her and she slept. Far away on a world at the edge of known space, a young alien child was dying. Her name was Kira and she was 7 years old. She had caught a plague that her people could not cure. Every day she grew weaker. Every night her mother prayed to gods who did not answer. One morning a white ship appeared in orbit. It was marked with blue crosses. It was human. The doctors came down in shuttles carrying medicine and equipment. They worked for 3 days, treating every sick person in the village. They did not ask for payment. They did not ask for thanks. They just worked, hour after hour, saving lives. On the 4th day, Kira woke up healthy. Her fever was gone. Her strength was returning. She looked up at the human doctor who had saved her and asked the question her mother had been afraid to ask. Why did you help us? We have nothing to give you." The doctor smiled. She was young, with kind eyes and gentle hands. "We do not help because we expect payment. We help because it is right." Kira did not fully understand, but her grandmother did. The old alien had lived a long time. She had heard the stories about what happened to the Kravik. She knew what humans were capable of. She took her granddaughter aside and pointed to the white ship rising into the sky. "Remember this day," the grandmother said. "Remember the humans who saved you. They have 2 hands. One holds medicine, the other holds a sword. We were lucky. We only saw the first." Kira watched the ship disappear into the clouds. "Will they come back?" she asked. "If we need them," her grandmother replied. "They will always come back for those who need them. But pray, little one. Pray that we only ever need their medicine." In the sky, the white ship joined its sisters and brothers, the fleet of hospital vessels that carried humanity's kindness to the stars. They flew to war zones and disaster sites. They healed the sick and comforted the dying. They asked for nothing in return. But everyone who saw them now knew the truth. The healers were not alone. Somewhere in the darkness between stars, the angels were sleeping, waiting, ready to wake if anyone was foolish enough to hurt humanity's children again. And the galaxy remembered. The galaxy learned. The galaxy never forgot.